The organization that produces the Oscars is adding some A-list names to its membership roster. The Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences is inviting Taylor Swift, Keke Palmer, and Oscar winner Ke Huy Quan to become members. Critics say Keke Palmer was overlooked and snubbed by the Academy earlier this year after a standout performance in Jordan Peele's Nope. Swift garnered Oscar buzz for the 2022 season with her directorial debut on All Too Well, the short film, but did not end up receiving an Oscar nod. Kwan is being invited to join the Academy after winning the Best Supporting Actor Oscar in March for his role in Everything Everywhere All at Once. 398 artists are receiving invites. According to the Academy, the selections are based on professional qualifications and their commitment to representation, inclusion, and equity. In the class of 2023, 40% identify as women, 34% belong to underrepresented ethnic or racial communities. Kevin Spacey's criminal trial for sex offenses is underway in London's Southwark Court. Here he is walking out of a New York court in a separate lawsuit filed last year. Spacey's accusers in London are all men. He's charged with 3 counts of indecent assault, 7 counts of sexual assault, 1 count of forcing a person to engage in sexual activity without consent, and 1 of forcing a person to engage in penetrative sexual activity without consent. The allegations date back to as early as 2001 when Spacey lived in Britain and worked as the artistic director for the Old Vic Theatre. The 63-year-old has pleaded not guilty. Madonna is postponing her world tour after spending several days in intensive care. She left the hospital on Thursday. Wednesday, the star's longtime manager posted on social media that Madonna developed a serious bacterial infection last Saturday. Her manager said she is improving and a full recovery is expected. However, the start of her celebration tour will be pushed back. The tour was initially scheduled to kick off July 15th in Vancouver, Canada. Other shows next month are expected to be rescheduled as well. One of the directors of RBG, Julie Cohen, has a new documentary about a group striving to be accepted the way they were born. The Advocate Channel's David Daniel has a look.
Society generally considers that biological sex is cut and dry. Actually, it's not cut and dry. We don't fall neatly into that male-female box.
3 intersex people, the I in LGBTQIA, tell their stories in Every Body.
The definition of intersex is any variation in a person's sex characteristics.
They told my mom, you have a child that we feel is abnormal.
And this body was a problem that needed to be fixed.
And that I should never tell anyone about it.
A lot of the narrative has been either forced upon us by doctors or just because of the lack of visibility to keep our identities as secrets.
We live in a society that's so binary. And so for me as an intersex person, where do I fit? Where do I belong?
You know, I love a story that will blow people's minds, and I think the modern intersex rights movement is something that will blow people's minds.
Actually, our very existence proves that there is no pure male and female. It just shows that our common fight for body autonomy, whether this be survivors of sexual assault, whether this be people fighting for access to free and fair abortions, whether this be trans people, intersex people, it's all the same fight, which is to control our bodies and by doing that, control our futures.
Just existing as an intersex person is grounds for celebration in a whole world that doesn't see us. But you know what?
I am intersex. Intersex.
We are here now.
According to the film, 1.7% of the population has some intersex traits. That's about the same percentage of people who have naturally red hair. Every Body is in theaters Friday, June 30th, the last day of Pride Month. A new movie takes everything you think you know about the Krakens and turns it upside down. In the new movie, Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken, the monsters are the mermaids. It's a tale of generational sisterhood with a message to not hide your difference. We caught up with the cast for the Hollywood premiere.
It means especially a lot being a part of the Asian community myself, South Asian representation. We've got this girl blazing a path that we are so lucky to watch and witness. She's brilliant and she pours her heart and soul into everything that she does. Even press with her the other day was just flying high. She's just a joy. So she could not be more her character, but the post-puberty version of her character.
This movie is all about acceptance and family, and I feel like a lot of teenagers, when they get into high school specifically, they just want to fit in. They just want to kind of like find their people, but they also kind of want to like have their parents see them as a person. And so I feel like a lot of kids are going to take away just what it means to kind of like find who you are and just kind of be who you are, no matter like what people may say about you. And I think that's like the most important thing.
Working on the project, I think the thing that was so exciting about me was how universal the story is and how we all can relate to a period in our lives where we were trying to come to terms with something that we maybe didn't feel proud of or felt a little ashamed of. I think that everyone has that at some point. If you don't have that, write a book, tell us your secret.
Often in animation, you kind of only see like the good parts of relationships, and in our film, we do it's very realistic. We have like the drama, the when you think your mom is trying to ruin your life, all that stuff, which is so real. So I was kind of drawn to the just like the authenticity of our script, the way that it was portrayed, like the mother-grandmother situation, and
oh, I thought she was a lot of fun. She's feisty and she has a sense of humor, and most importantly, she wants her granddaughter to realize that she's not what she thinks she is, that underneath what society has told her she should be, she has the potential for being a leader, a heroine, and that's always important.
He was a highly trained and charismatic artist in New York who everyone seemed to know, but who never really achieved the level of fame he was after. Edward Brezinski came out of the East Village art scene in the early 80s, along with folks like Keith Haring and Jean-Michel Basquiat. Now, decades after his death, the documentary Make Me Famous is taking a look at the life as an artist in the 80s and Brezinski's mysterious death. I spoke with co-director Brian Vincent and artist Peter McGuff, who knew Brezinski in the East Village art scene, about this fascinating story.
Brian, I do need to ask, at what point did you become aware of Edward Brezinski, and what was the impetus for telling his infamous story?
Well, as I said, I'm an actor, and I was in between work, obsessed with the 1980s, reading about it like crazy, and I happened to run across a fellow waiter who told me he found out that I was obsessed with the 80s, and he told me that he had collected a painter all through the 80s, and I should come over to his apartment and I should see this incredible work that he had, and I did, and I was pretty blown away when I saw the work, and then I was looking for Edward Brezinski and all these books and everything, and I kind of found a few little shreds of him. They talked about little incidents here and there, and so I just got fascinated with investigating it and going to meet people like Peter and Nina Nosai, who was Basquiat's first gallerist. And she had this incredible story. She wanted to tell me about it, but she said first I had to read some more books so I'd understand more about art.
So you got an education.
Exactly. But during all that time, I've always wanted to be a filmmaker as well. I got hired on at a quasi TV studio years ago. I worked learning how to make, boring corporate videos and things like that. And so I learned how to work with a crew, and I learned how to edit, and I learned how to compose, and all this other, compose a photograph and all this other stuff, put people inside video. And anyway, so it became apparent that this would make a great documentary because there were so many wonderful stories about Edward. And then I had run across this incredible archival because Jim C. and Edward Brezinski, Jim C. is a videographer, had made this incredible video of Edward Brezinski and his journey trying to become famous in the 1980s. And so because it had all this archival, it gave it a chance for everybody to live inside this movie so that I can take you back into the 1980s and you can experience this along with Edward as he chases his dream.
And congratulations are in order to Chrissy Teigen and John Legend. They have welcomed a son via a surrogate. They both announced the arrival of Ren Alexander Stevens on their Instagram pages. Teigen's post went into detail about their decision to pursue having more children via a surrogate after losing their son Jack in 2020. The couple chose to try in vitro fertilization one more time. IVF was successful, and their daughter Esty was born in January. You can watch the Advocate channel live by downloading our app in the Apple or Google Play Store. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. For the Advocate channel, I'm Tracy E. Gilchrist. Thank you for watching.